Longtime fan of this subreddit. I've been meaning to post this for a while, and it's definitely a childhood memory of mine that I'll never forget. Growing up, my aunt and uncle owned a beach condo. My favorite way to spend the summer was to stay there with my family, specifically my cousin Charlie. We were absolutely inseparable growing up. There was only a 1-year difference between us. The beach we stayed at was a very popular tourist beach on the South Carolina coast, so in summer it was usually incredibly busy. I mean, barely any room between you and the family next to you. Now, my family would spend all day on the beach, from about 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. The beach would stay crowded until about 5, and everyone would go back to their rooms to shower and go out to eat. So from around 5 to 7 every day was my favorite time to be outside. We would actually have room to run wild, build sandcastles, and dig huge holes, not having to worry about people knocking them down or being too close. Around 5:30 p.m. one day, my family decided they wanted to walk to the pier about 2 miles away. Charlie and I begged to stay so we could continue building sandcastles. We were 9 and 10 at the time, and they said we could stay as long as we didn't get in the water or leave our beach spot. The condo we stayed at was 1 row back, and we weren't allowed to go across the street without adults. We agreed to the terms and continued to build a row of sandcastles as they walked away. Around 5 minutes later, an extremely tall man wearing a floppy beach hat, sunglasses, and a dollop of sunscreen on his nose came straight up to us. He started commenting about how pretty our sandcastles were, asking how long it took us to build them that high, asking if it was just the 2 of us working on them, which I clearly see what he was trying to get at with these questions now. We were both extremely introverted kids. We thanked him, kept our answers short, and tried to ignore him as he stood there still asking us questions. All of a sudden he got really quiet, started looking around at the mostly empty beach, and said he had to go meet his friend. He told us to stay right where we were, so he could bring his friend back to look at how great our sandcastles were, and walked away from us. When he got away a safe distance, Charlie and I both looked at each other and said, "We've got to get out of here." We were pretty smart for kids, and we immediately started weighing our options. We knew our family wouldn't be back for at least another 30 minutes. We also knew we weren't allowed to cross the street, and quite frankly, we were scared to. About 100 yards away is a tiny ramp overlooking the ocean. I believe it was a handicap access to the beach, as well as just a place to sit. We got our big shovels and decided to hollow out under the ramp pier thing enough to where we could crawl under and not be seen. It didn't take us long, since the high tide over the years had taken out a good 3 feet of sand underneath, and our adrenaline was rushing mad fast. We took our shovels inside and crawled under. The man was still yet to be seen. I assume it took us all of 8 minutes to climb under the pier. Our heads were partially visible above the sand horizon, and we started freaking out, thinking he would be able to spot us if he looked hard enough. There were 2 boogie boards lying around 50 yards away that looked like little kids had abandoned them on the beach. We grabbed them and propped them up against the ramp covering our crawl space, and hid the top of our heads from sight. Charlie curled up in a ball and cried while running scenarios by me that we were definitely going to get taken. I tried to calm him down and say that everything was going to be okay, and that our parents would be back soon, but I definitely felt like crying myself. The whole thing felt so weird. I feel that since we both had such a bad feeling about the situation, especially at a young age, this was a man with sinister intentions. Charles and I peeked out of the small slits where the boogie boards curved, and eventually saw the man walking back. He didn't have anyone with him, which we definitely thought he would have since he said he was bringing back a friend. He saw that we were gone, turned around several times checking to see if we were in the ocean or up by the dunes. Once he realized, thankfully not noticing us, that we were gone, he got extremely angry. Noticeably angry. He started huffing and puffing and stomping around. Then he looked at where our sandcastles were and kicked them all down. We had built a ton over the course of the day and basically had a long wall of them, and he kicked every single mound and stormed away. We stayed under the ramp pier thing for 45 more minutes until our family finally got back. We were way too scared to get out, especially after seeing his irrational actions. We cried and told them what had happened, and they didn't believe us. We still talk about it sometimes at family gatherings or holidays. Both of us still remember it like it was yesterday. Seriously, I'm so glad we were aware kids who happened to think quickly. A few years ago, my friend Allison and I decided to head to a local beach on a hot summer day. We were both in our preteens, so I had my mom drive us there. When we got there, it was incredibly crowded, with little kids playing in the sand and on the nearby jungle gym. Allison and I decided to sit ourselves down in the sand and enjoy the heat while my mom and one of her friends that she invited to come along kept an eye on us. We had probably been there a few hours at this point, when the beach started to clear out as it got colder. Allison and I took a break of taking photos of each other planking, and sat across from each other chatting about the new Iron Man. I sensed something approaching us, and looked over to see this 20-year-old Hispanic man coming up to us and trying to start chatting with us. At first, everything was fine, but then I noticed he kept nudging closer to us and looking around and behind him. It totally freaked me out. Then he asked if we had boyfriends, or if we liked older men, to which we both replied no. He scoffed and tried to convince us that he was the same age as us, which we didn't buy at all. While this was happening, Allison and I were texting each other back and forth, frantically trying to figure out how to get this guy to leave. Then she told me that I should say I had to go to the bathroom. After a quick glare in her direction for making me have to do it, I did exactly that, and she quickly said, "Me too." We both stood up and walked to the brick bathroom house while he of course followed us, pausing and waiting just outside. When we got inside, we started freaking out to each other about what to do, but when I poked my head out a few minutes later, he was gone. My mom was standing in front of the bathroom with her friend and told us that they noticed the guy acting weird and panicked when he tried to follow us. She said that her friend told the guy to get out of there. When he tried to tell her that he was a friend from our school, she made a scene. She was a small young woman, but still totally intimidating. The guy looked flustered and basically ran away. Allison and I were relieved after that and decided to go hang out on the jungle gym next to the bathroom house. When I looked to my right before we reached the jungle gym, I felt my stomach drop. I saw the man, along with 7 other sketchy guys, quickly leaving the area and running into the woods. I don't know what would have happened if the guy convinced us to somehow go somewhere with him. I'm just thankful my mom's friend stepped in and told him to beat it before we ended up on the side of a milk carton. This happened a few years ago, right before I deployed to the Middle East. I'm in the National Guard, so before we deployed, we had to train up in Fort Hood, Texas. After our training was finished, we got a 4-day pass. I was single, no kids, so I decided instead of going home, I would just travel around Texas. After a few days in Austin, I wanted to go see the Gulf, so I traveled to Rockport. I parked my rental about a 10-minute walk away from the beach, since it was a nice day and I don't mind walking. It was pretty quiet, as it was about 9 a.m., but there were still a few people there. I was laying out and reading my Kindle, when a heavily tattooed young guy walks up to where I'm laying out and asks if he can leave his clothes near me while he takes a dip. I say sure, and he goes into the ocean, and I don't really think too much of it. He comes out of the water about 10 minutes later and proceeds to lay down next to me and start chatting. I kinda wanted to be left alone, but he seemed harmless enough, and I didn't want to be rude, so I talked with him for a little bit. His name was Angel, and he said he lived about 30 minutes away. He tells me he would have joined the military, but he spent time in prison. I don't ask for what, but he tells me it was some kind of mix-up. This mix-up landed him in for 8 years. I try to direct the conversation to more harmless topics, but he doesn't act like a lonely stranger, or even a guy trying to hit on a girl. He's completely uninterested in anything, except why I'm here and who I'm with. And then he starts getting real creepy. He keeps repeating back to me that, "You're really all alone? You came here by yourself. You're not with anyone?" Alarm bells are ringing. It didn't actually phrase any of it quite like that, but he read between the lines. Note to future self, always pretend to be waiting for friends. I start stressing that I'm leaving that day. I wasn't, and that I'm in the military and have to be back soon, or they'll consider me AWOL and start looking for me. He pretty much ignores all of this, and I notice that we're both watching people walk by us carefully, if that makes any sense. Luckily for me, it was getting more crowded, and families were walking by us in pretty steady intervals. He starts asking me what kind of car I drive, what hotel I'm staying in. He even asks me where I'm parked. I tell him that it's a rental, I'm leaving, and that I don't remember where I parked. I've been creeped out for a while now, and I've been in some dangerous situations before, but I've never been more frightened than in broad daylight, surrounded by people and talking with this creep. He starts telling me about this party in his town later tonight, and says that I should come. I could meet all of his friends. He offers to drive me, but again I bring up that I'm leaving. I'm in the military and all that jazz. He continues to be amazed that I'm all here by myself. He also tells me that he's parked right behind us, and asked if I wanted to see his car. I tell him that I'm comfortable where I'm at. He also put on his cargo shorts he took off for his ocean dip, and kept rubbing one of the pockets while he talked to me. And there was definitely something in there. I doubt it was a gun, but this guy was scaring the hell out of me, and it made me wonder if he had a knife or something. Now I know it seems strange that I didn't just up and leave, but this guy was making every hair on the back of my neck stand up, and I wanted to extract myself without pissing him off. Then, after mentioning the party again, he says something even creepier. He looks right at my legs and says, "I bet you can run for days." What the fuck? There was zero context for this statement. We weren't talking about working out, athletics, the Olympics, fitness routines, or even military training. None of those topics came up ever the whole time he was creeping me out. I look over, and a family is walking by us fairly close, so I leap up, start gathering my stuff, and tell them that I gotta go to the restroom. I power walk down closer to the water, and walk along the beach in the opposite direction of my car, towards the pier where the restroom and snacks are. This guy follows me the entire way, while talking on his cell phone. I was walking along the beach while he was walking along the edge of the parking lot that ran parallel. Once I reached the pier, I doubled back to where my car was actually parked. I watched him until he finally stopped following me. There was a small booth that the parking attendant sat in. I parked in the free lot behind her, but I stopped and told her the situation, described the car I was getting into, which she could see from her booth. She agreed to make sure I got to my car safely. A little paranoid maybe, since I was fairly certain he had stopped following me, but just in case. I'm just glad the beach was fairly crowded that day. It was the summer of 2011, and I just turned 16 and got my first car. So, like any 16-year-old kid, I liked to hop in my car, turn up the music to ear-splitting levels, and just go. I started doing a lot of outdoor stuff when I got my car. Friends and I liked to go fishing and hiking. One day I wanted to go fishing, but everyone was busy, so I decided to head out on my own. No big deal. I packed my car and headed for the beach. It was a nice warm day on the gorgeous California coast. The only thing that would make it better was having a friend with me. I walked onto the pier and began fishing. People came and went, occasionally making conversation with me. I was there all day, and around 4 p.m., an Asian man who appeared to be in his mid-40s walked up and set his fishing stuff right next to me. Okay, whatever, I thought to myself. He started making conversation, and before you knew it, 2 hours had passed. Well, shit, I better get home. I hope you catch something good out here. I started packing my stuff, and then this guy says, "Oh, hey, can I have your phone number so we can text?" I wasn't even thinking. I normally don't hesitate because I was used to giving out my information a lot at school. Oh, sure, it's... Oh, shit. What the fuck did I just do? I thought to myself. At that moment, I already knew nothing good would come from this. Sure enough, he called it to make sure I wasn't lying. The creepy bastard. I left without saying anything. Guess what? He followed me back to the parking lot, saying he needed to go too. Damn. My heart started racing. He was gonna follow me. I knew it. Luckily for me, he parked way on the other end of the lot. He asked me to wait for him, because he still wanted to talk. Okay, yeah, I'll be here. Yeah, right. I packed my car as quickly as possible, and changed out of my sandy beach-smelling clothes. I jumped into my car and drove away. My phone went off, and he started to follow me onto the freeway entrance. I didn't answer. As soon as I got on the on-ramp, I floored it and started weaving through traffic at 95 miles an hour trying to lose this man. He already had my cell number and knew my car and license plate. Luckily, I was 45 minutes from home, so I had plenty of time to lose him. Thanks to my trusty Scion, I was able to lose him after about a 15-minute car chase. I got off the freeway and went through some city streets where I managed to lose him after making various turns and getting back on the freeway. The man started to harass me over text message, saying he wanted me and that he would get me one way or another. He would ask me for news, and he would send me some of his own. I kept the messages to show the police if things went further. After months of not replying to his messages, he asked me, "Are you mad at me?" I didn't ask for news, that was just my friends messing around. Chills ran through my body every time I got a message from him. I was on the edge at all times, constantly checking my surroundings, and I started carrying a switchblade. One day I finally got fed up, and I replied to a message with, "Who's this? I just bought this phone with this new number. Sorry, you must have the wrong number." Luckily for me, that's all it took. He bought it, and it finally stopped. I erased everything he sent me and went on with life. Since then, I learned not to just blurt things out like that so quickly. Who knows what this dirtbag would have done to me? It still scares me to think about. What is up, guys? Blue Spooky here, as always. I just wanted to thank you guys so much for watching, especially if you made it this far to the end of the video. If you guys enjoyed the video, please feel free to leave feedback in the comments below, as well as perhaps like, share, or subscribe if you feel so inclined. If you have a personal story that you'd like to submit, or you'd like to just send me a message, links to all of my social media will be in the description for the video below. This includes my Gmail, Twitter, and Facebook accounts. Go ahead and send me a message on any of those, and I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. If you do decide to send in a story, please be sure to include in the tagline what the theme of the story is, if it has any, the name of the story, and how you would like to be credited in the description of the video the story appears in. If you're curious at all about the music used in this video, the music is always listed in the description below, in the order which it appears. I also have links to the artists and list the tracks by name, just in case you want to find more of their work. Last but not least, if you have any criticism, please be sure to leave it in the comments below, as I'm always looking for new ways to improve the channel. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you guys have a great day.